Oh, no, I forgot it upstairs. So.
All right. Talking about Albert Emmerich today. The quote was, "There are 300 Jews lying in each grave." My name is Joe Fitzgerald. This is for History 4490. So Albert, he was born in 1907 in Wolgast. He was a typesetter, kind of like a graphic designer back in the day. And he was drafted as a policeman. You know, most people were drafted into the military. He was drafted the same way, but into the police. And he became a police instructor. Just seemed kind of like your average guy, you know, had a normal job. The way he talks, he just seemed like an average guy that was around during this time. Here's just a map of kind of where everything was. He was near Berlin, and he gets sent to the Ukraine, which you can see down there in the corner. He was in active duty in 1943 in a town called Mariupol in Ukraine. And he says that he was a replacement for a fellow who had been shot in the woods by partisans. So, you know, just think of his mindset going into this situation that, you know, he'd just gotten promotion, you know, way to go, and he was replacing a guy who got shot in the woods. So, and again, this is how he describes it. So he had a weird sense of humor. While he's there, he is just doing police things. He says he just patrols, does normal things like that. But then one day, he runs into a guy that's been there a lot longer than him, for like 6 months to a year. And it's the quote you guys actually have on your piece of paper there. And I'll just read it to you. It's just kind of a story, and just kind of his mindset. Then one day, a younger fellow, around 26 to 27, comes to me. "Come here, I want to show you something." It was a gravel pit. He took me there. Gravel pits sit deep in the ground. Then he said, "Look at that. There are 3 mass graves. Those are Jews. There are 300 Jews lying in each grave. I was there as well," he said. We had to shoot the people. They were forced to undress, no matter where they were, old or young, or whether they're babies or women with babies in their arms. They all got a shot in the back of the neck. None of us received a submachine gun. They got a shot at the nape of the neck with a simple revolver and were forced to undress beforehand. Then the next 300 were ready. They had to dig their own mass grave again, and then their turn came later. A few days later, they had to stand on the edge of their grave, and when they were shot, it was awful. He said, "Well, I thought those Nazi bastards." And, you know, here is an actual photo of not necessarily, you know, his story, but the exact same thing happening. They would just all be lined up, and you can see them taking their clothes off, getting ready to walk up to a pit to get shot in the back of the head. And I just thought this photo, it's from the Holocaust Museum website, but I mean, that's as real as you get right there. Albert, he ended up getting wounded during an attack on a village. He was shot in the arm and lung and was in the hospital for 6 months. He was sent to a hospital near Dachau. And he gets released, but he's in the hospital for a long time. I guess he's pretty sick from getting hit in the lung. They just didn't have the medical technology to get somebody like that back to health really quick. So he's there at the hospital, and he sees a lot of the camp guards and things like that. So he has interactions with those guys, but he doesn't necessarily start, you know, working at the camp or anything like that. So he just hears more stories of just some of the things that guards did. One story was these guards came and said, and very nonchalantly, the way he describes things in the interview were just always so nonchalant. It was kind of awkward for me to read. Was these guards had just, in their daily activities, decided to string up a Jewish guy and let him sit in the sun all day and bake, just tied up. And he just described the story just plain as day. Nothing, you know, it just seemed like a normal thing for him to describe. I just think about how terrible, you know, you're actually telling the story of something awful like that, and he can just, it just seems to roll off his tongue like it's nothing. So, but again, here is just some German police. They have a gentleman right here who was accused of having relations with a Jewish woman. And these are kind of the things that the police would do. You know, Albert seems to, he keeps inferring that, you know, he didn't really do anything. Just like that last quote, you know, those Nazi bastards. It's always the Nazis did things. Albert never seemed to, you know, he never feels responsible for a lot of things, which I found pretty interesting. And then here's a quote basically explaining that. I need to mention here that I do not belong to the Nazi Party, and that this captain had faith in me. And one day he closed the door and said, "You were just in Russia? What is really going on there?" Then I said to him, "If the Russians keep coming closer, then I can only advise you to get out of here and go far west as you can with your family, because what the Nazis have done there will have bitter consequences." And he did just that. So Albert says he's had enough of this and heads west and surrenders to the Americans. And then it just is weird to me. He only spends a few weeks in an American prison camp. And by June of 1946, he's a traffic cop, back to his normal life. And then by March of '49, he's a typesetter. He becomes like head typesetter for a pretty famous, I guess, local magazine. And his life is just back to normal. I found that so weird that, you know, he went from watching people get murdered to, you know, going back to work within a year or so. So it just was really stunning to me. So, and then here's just another quote, again, of him saying, "It's not really my fault, you know, I didn't do anything." The question was about a village that was getting shelled, and just basically blown over. And he was asked, you know, "So, well, what did you do?" And here's his answer. He's like, "Me? No, I was just a policeman doing patrol duty. There was a curfew, and we went to the village at night to patrol it. Otherwise, we didn't do anything." And it just shows you the mindset of some of these people that took part in mass murder, but they have this feeling that they didn't do anything, which I find just almost stunning. You know, that they have, I mean, I guess you would just warp your own mind to believe that, because, you know, if you're going back to work as a typesetter, you've got to somehow reason it out that you weren't responsible for this, to somehow live with yourself, I guess. That is Albert.